a company, I would love to pay it forward to build a much more equitable startup ecosystem. So how do you go in your own dismantling journey? Well, first, choose something to dismantle. And again, dismantle for good. We're talking about for good of the world. And there's nothing short of ideas out there. As I mentioned, we're navigating multiple pandemics from COVID-19, monkeypox now, to systemic racism, to our fight for reproductive rights. There's a lot out there to choose from. And here you see systems around banking, housing, criminal justice, education, public health. Pick one. I think also we do get caught up on trying to work on too many things. But remember, at the end of the day, we were all born into this world for a reason. Pick your channel, your little way you want to change the world, make a difference, but don't feel the pressure to always get involved in so many things that you're forgetting about your own well-being. So choose something to dismantle. At Visible Hands, we saw amazing case studies with some of our founders, starting here with Moolah Health. This is a company that we backed. It was really at day zero. So the founder was just working on an idea. And that's an important thing to say, because you hear a lot, who gets back when they have an idea and an napkin? They look a certain way, right? And then everybody else has to get traction and customers and have this chief technical officer that dropped out of Google or Meta, right? And again, that's something we have to dismantle, right? Who's credible enough to get investment? And that's something that we do a lot of work on Visible Hands to get through that bias and really fund the right people. So we have Moolah Health that's closing disparities in reproductive health and really empowering everyone in their fertility journey to get the support and resources they need. So that's a startup I'm really excited about. And by the way, they raised millions already. So like, again, you think, oh, if I choose, this is a niche market. That's what you hear some of the top dogs say, and it's because they don't want those systems to change. There's nothing niche about these problems. These are huge problems, and they need you. Another startup that I'm excited about is called Nested Funds. One of our visionaries, they're working to design a platform to really support adult children, help their elderly parents. You know, as I mentioned, I'm Dominican. I'm often sending money back to my abuelita, to my auntie back in the Dominican Republic, and I feel that pressure. And many of us here in the United States need a way to support their families, and so they're doing great work to add some dignity to that process. So again, there's so many startups in these spaces doing great things and making a lot of money along the way. So definitely want to highlight those resources. So once you pick something to dismantle, whatever it is, you also got to work on dismantling yourselves. And please don't get naked, don't dismantle any clothing. That's not what I mean. But I mean, we do really got to break ourselves apart. Instead of putting us together with what, again, has been constructed in society, we got to deconstruct ourselves. That's another synonym for dismantle. And really go through this period of understanding, you know, who you are, how you want to show up in the spaces, and understand, yeah, there's definitely going to be compromises. So I was in a space where an investor was talking about, like, if you don't go to Harvard, if you don't go to Stanford, if you don't have this pedigree, you're not going to get funding. And I spoke up. And then one of my mentors, and you got to love mentors, you got to love supporters, they're going to keep it real. They said, well, you might have lost $100,000 by kind of interrupting this investor and letting you know this other perspective. And I said, you know, at that moment, actually, you know, I started crying. That's another story where I was crying. Healing yourself, it's a lot of tears, I'm not gonna lie. So I was crying around Hudson Yards, and I was like, maybe she was right. I just lost on the check, and I really needed this. But I put myself together. It's like, if I didn't say that, I wasn't gonna live with myself. Like, I literally, it was because my heart beat rate. You know when you gotta say something when your heart beat racing? You gotta say it, but we got trained to keep things down. So when I came back from crying around Hudson Yards, went to the happy hour later with an investor and introduced myself, and I stood by what I said, and I still have a good relationship with that investor. I did it my way. I did it by being unapologetic myself. But again, though it takes work, it takes tears. A good tool that I like to use and reflect on, and I use in some of my workshops around identity, is the social identity wheel by the University of Michigan. So check it out. Do this constant understanding of really how do you play in this system, in this playbook that wasn't necessarily built for us. And it really goes along with another one of my personal heroes, Angela Davis, who says we have to also liberate our minds, ourselves, as well as liberating society. It's a parallel process that we must happen. And then 3, take up a lot of space and be unapologetic to yourself. In a lot of talks you're going to hear like, here's how you're politically correct, be nice, here's how you network and build relationships. You're not gonna make the relationships, build a community by standing in the background, by being shy, by taking less space. I learned that, and I really have to redefine myself as an introvert. I'm an introvert, believe it or not. I am a little shy. I don't get energy from people. So literally I had to put in work, but I ended up at the end with a consensus that I did have to take up more space, raise my hand if there was something truly authentic that I needed to say. And so once you choose something to dismantle, if you're out there building a new organization, a new company, and you're also working on yourself, take up a lot of space as you're going through that journey and build relationships. You're not going to build a company or an organization in silos. It's all about relationships and community. So that's the third thing I would say that's key to the dismantling journey. And because I like dismantling even the rule of 3s, I'm going to end with number 4. Prioritize your physical, mental, and emotional well-being as you're doing. When you probably hear about startup life, you think Silicon Valley, staying in office all day, and that was by design, right? Just like the 40-hour work week, you have all these companies give you free food, free soda, free nap time. So you basically sleep there and don't go to your home. So you're basically productive and stay there. That's why some organizations are not happy with working remote. And it's a bunch of BS. I tell you, I work at a remote company, Visible Hands, and these are the most productive people I ever met. I'm like, how do we get all these done? We're a 2-year organization. So again, startup life sometimes looks like this. That's my boy. He looks good. I love being a couch and taking breaks because that's when you get your best ideas. So let's dismantle for good. Pick something to dismantle, right? Dismantle yourself. And if Bo's getting a little naked from time to time, I won't hate it. 3, take up a lot of space and be unapologetically yourself. And number 4, you come first. Prioritize your mental, physical, and spiritual well-being. Thank you so much for having me. All right, and let me know if you're interested. I can come back tomorrow and we can talk more startups since we didn't have a lot of time to answer questions. I know tomorrow's Morgan on conference. But I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you so much. Final round of applause.